Good afternoon, everybody. Coming back from lunch in Vienna. Good morning in the south, no? And in some other parts of the world. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to this interactive learning session on helping small and medium enterprises climb the ladder of digital transformation of the Multilateral Industrial Policy Forum. So today we have a terrific panel. So please stay tuned for the next hour. My name is Marco Camilla. I am the Chief of the Division of Digital Transformation and Artificial Intelligence Strategies at UNIDO, and I will be moderating this session. During the meeting, we will discuss the implication of these new technologies in the design of industrial policies for digitalization of manufacturing, with a special focus on SMEs. The event will consist of three parts. First, we will have a triggering presentation on the topic by my colleague Alejandro Labopa, who is a Research and Industrial Policy Officer at UNIDO. Then representatives from Brazil, India, Jordan, and China will present policy experiences from their countries as case studies, which will be afterwards discussed by a panel of leading experts in this field. Following the presentations and discussions, we will open the floor for your questions. To participate, please use the Q&A tool at Zoom. You can see the instruction in the chat at the bottom of the screen. With no further delay, we will now begin the session with opening remarks by my colleague Cecilia Ugas, Director of Gender Equity and Empowerment of Women Office, and a Special Advisor, Directorate of Corporate Management and Operations, UNIDO. There's Cecilia, so the microphone is yours.
Thank you, Marco. Excellencies, distinguished delegates, esteemed panelists, ladies and gentlemen. It is my pleasure to welcome you to this session titled Climbing the Ladder of Digital Transformation. The MIPF team and colleagues in our Division of Digital Transformation and Artificial Intelligence Strategies have put together a very interesting program around the topic of digitalization of industry. We will learn from concrete examples of the formulation and implementation of policies to foster digitalization in developing countries. This is important for several reasons. For example, the diffusion of the industrial Internet of Things, advanced robotics, artificial intelligence, additive manufacturing, and other advanced digital production technologies is transforming industrial production in radical ways. The blurring of the boundaries between physical and digital worlds bring new opportunities to upgrade and develop modern manufacturing industries. Unfortunately, few countries and firms concentrate the capacities to mobilize advanced digital production technologies. The digital gap between developing and developed countries is growing. This is especially true for countries that are far from the technological frontier and base their competitive advantages on the abundance of natural resources or low labor costs. Ladies and gentlemen, promoting and supporting digitalization in developing countries is crucial for accelerating progress towards the SDGs. UNIDO places great interest in leveraging progress by innovation in new digital technologies to support the productive transformation of developing countries' economies, to provide young people with the skills necessary to perform the jobs of tomorrow. In addition to analytical work to understand the impact of frontier technologies in industry, UNIDO provides concrete technical initiatives around entrepreneurship training and digital skills development, learning and experimentation in the use of digital technologies to underpin competitiveness of innovative firms, formulation of dedicated policies to create suitable industrial ecosystems that foster digital transformation of firms, especially industrial SMEs. You can learn more about this and other initiatives through our website, our open data platform, and other social media outlets. UNIDO is advancing a strategy on artificial intelligence in close dialogue with our member states. Moreover, UNIDO is preparing to launch a global alliance on artificial intelligence for the industry. The alliance should help create a more conducive environment for firms and governments to take advantage of artificial intelligence and other advanced digital production technologies. Distinguished participants, this dedicated session of the Multilateral Industrial Policy Forum further strengthens UNIDO's role as knowledge broker, as enabler of mutually beneficial exchanges between policymakers, academic experts, and industrial practitioners interested in leveraging advanced digital production technologies to foster industrialization. We expect to draw pertinent recommendations on how to tap into the potential of digital technologies to advance growth, improve human well-being, and to safeguard the environment. I am confident that this session will bring fruitful discussions on industrial policy experiences that can address bottlenecks and spur the digital transformation of industrial SMEs. I thank you very much for joining here in Vienna and online.
Many thanks, Cecilia, for this excellent introduction to this session. As Ms. Ugaz has just highlighted, promoting digitalization in developing countries is crucial for accelerating progress toward the SDGs, and we must place great interest in leveraging progress by innovation in new digital technologies to support the productive transformation of these economies. We also will have more from Cecilia on gender in the next session. Now, let me give the floor to my colleague, Alejandro Labopa, Research and Industrial Policy Officer at UNIDO, who will give a short triggering presentation on the topic under discussion. So there, Alejandro, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Marco. Thank you, everybody, for joining to this session. Can you hear me well? Yes? Okay, so what I'm going to do now is to give a very short presentation to just set the stage for the discussion that we're going to have in this session. And to do so, I would like to elaborate on two main questions. Yes. So, sorry, I have some kind of issue with the, yes. Digitalization is chasing us. Excellent. Yes, now we can continue. Thank you. Thank you. So I would like to set the stage answering these two guiding questions. The first one is, where are developing countries standing in the creation and use of digital technologies in production? And this is very important. We are here in a forum to talk about industrial policies, and it is very important to stress the fact that we are looking into digital technologies for production. And the second question is, what are the main priorities for policy action in this context? So let me jump to the first of these questions. In the era of Industry 4.0, I'm trying to move the slide from remote. So I will then make it more labor intensive. Can you pass to the next slide? We want to showcase the challenge that developing countries face when it comes to digital technologies, and even so more for advanced countries. Here in Austria and Vienna, we are also having issues with digital technologies. Thank you. So let me now move to the first question. Where are countries, developing countries standing in these technologies? But first, let me elaborate a bit more of what is the focus of the session. What specific type of technologies are we going to be talking about? And this is what in the Industrial Development Report 2020 that we have explored these issues, we label advanced digital production technologies. And here, the main point is that, as has been always or is very common mentioned, We are now witnessing a sort of new technological revolution, a new industrial revolution. Some call this the fourth industrial revolution. And this industrial revolution is taking place in many technological domains at the same time. Now we can see very important breakthroughs in new materials, in biotechnology, in nanotechnology, and also, very important, and the focus of this session, on digital technologies. Now, and all these breakthroughs, they are changing the way in which industrial production and industrial development take place. In this session, we're going to focus on one specific area of this revolution, which is the digital technologies, advanced digital technologies, applied to manufacturing production. And that is what you can see in this figure in the middle of the circle, what is typically labeled as the technologies for a smart factory, or even more famous, let's say, the Industry 4.0 technologies. And who are these technologies? The 6 that they are typically mentioned in this regard are the industrial Internet of Things, the big data analytics, advanced robotics, artificial intelligence, very important, and Cecilia was mentioning a new strategy that UNID is developing on this, cloud computing, and advanced manufacturing. Now, these are like the frontier technologies in the realm of digitalization. And having this in the back of our minds, let me now go to the question, where are developing countries standing in the creation and use of this specific set of technologies? And here, again, building on some analysis that we have done for the Industrial Development Report 2020, a very striking feature of this new technological revolution is that there is extreme concentrated landscape in the creation and use of these technologies. Now, so from the whole world, what we have identified is that there is a set, very small set, 10 countries, which are actually the front runners in this revolution, and they are running the race. These 10 countries that you can see here in this figure include 9 high-income industrialized countries, plus China, and taken together, they explain 91% of all patenting activity in this field at the world level, and 70% of the exports of capital goods embedded in these technologies. So we have 10 countries that explains almost all the creation of these technologies and almost all the production and exports of capital goods which embedded those technologies. And if you look at the figure again, you can see that developing countries are nowhere to be found. Now you can see the extreme difference that goes from the front runners, these 10 countries, and the rest of the world. So here comes the first very important challenge, I would say a macro challenge, that developing countries need to address, and is how to move up in the technological ladder and become active in this particular set of technologies. But on top of this, developing countries face another very important challenge. Now, and for that, again, I would like to show you one figure. This is coming from work that we have been doing for the last Industrial Development Report, the 2022 edition, in which we have collected data at the level of the manufacturing firms around the world in 26 developing countries in different regions of the world. And one of the things that we have been asking to the firms is what generation of digital technologies they are using in their production process. And we have built a sort of a continuum that goes from this very top Industry 4.0 technologies all the way to analog technology, so not using digital technologies at all. And the picture that emerged, and this is very striking, is that we can see that the share of firms, for instance, adopting this top level, the 4.0 technologies in developing countries, is still a niche. Now you can see that at best we have 2%, so 1.9% of firms in Asia which are already using these technologies. And the other side of the coin is that the vast majority of firms in developing countries are very, very far away from this technological frontier. You can see that about 70 to 75% of the firms that we have interviewed in these surveys, they report using either 1.0 digital technology, which is very basic digital technologies, or not using digital technology at all. So this brings us to the second very important challenge that developing countries are facing in this revolution, and is how to accelerate the digitalization, specifically of background firms, which typically tend to be the small and medium enterprises. And this is, again, for the analysis we have been conducting in the context of the Industrial Development Report, it becomes very clear that it's true, there is a few firms which are adopting these technologies, but these firms, they have very clear characteristics. They are large firms, and almost always they are connected to global value chains. The vast majority of firms in developing countries, SMEs firms which are oriented to the domestic market, on the other hand, they are not using digital technologies. So now moving to the second question, and just to wrap up, to set the stage for the discussions we're going to have in this session, what are, in our view, the main priority areas for policy actions given this landscape that we have characterized? And we can probably mention two main priority areas for policy action. The first one is entering into the new technological revolution. No? And this is what we labeled before the macro challenge. But then, on top of that, we have the second challenge, which is unlocking the diffusion of these technologies across manufacturing firms, no? What we call the micro challenge. And let me just very briefly elaborate a bit more on these 2 points. The first one is very important. So these technologies, these Industry 4.0 technologies, they came to stay. So they will continue with us, and they will continue increasing their penetration in our lives. So the point is that countries that fail to embrace these technologies will be relegated even further in the global industrial landscape. No, and this, of course, will have implications in terms of the capacity of countries to create jobs, to fight poverty, and even to generate the technologies that will help us addressing climate change. So in this sense, it is very important to establish new strategies and roadmaps which will stimulate the engagement of developing countries with these new technologies and help them building innovation capabilities in this particular technological field. And moving to the second challenge, here what is important to stress is that industrial policies should put digitalization at the center, because what we know is that the absorption of these digital technologies is crucial for future competitiveness. Now, this is something that we have also been analyzing with the data that we have collected. These firms which are already adopting these technologies tend to have a productivity premium. Okay, so this will become one of the key elements of competitiveness in the future. If firms don't go there, then they might be ending out of the market, and that, of course, will create more deindustrialization in developing countries. So, in this context, we think that it is very important that industrial policies focus on creating a well-functioning industrial ecosystem that will enable the diffusion of these technologies, especially across SMEs. No? Because, again, the point from the previous figure was that there are already some small pocket of advanced digitalization in developing countries. The question is, how can we unlock that and make those technologies diffuse to the other manufacturing firms in the country? And here, of course, the most important is to create the ecosystem that will help this diffusion. So, to elaborate more on these priorities and the specific policies that countries can take to address them, today we're going to present 4 policy experiences. The first 2 are more related to the macro challenge, and here we are going to present the artificial intelligence strategy in Jordan and the digital transformation strategy in China. And secondly, for the micro challenge, we're going to present 2 cases. One is related to SME digitalization in a particular state of Brazil, in Sao Paulo. And the second one is the SME digitalization in a particular state of India, that is Tamil Nadu. So thank you very much, and I hope we can have a very good discussion. Thank you.
Thank you, Alejandro, for great setting for the discussion with this presentation. If you want to read more about this, so you can access the Industrial Development Report 2022 in our website. So the question is how to accelerate digitalization. Taking these insights as a background, so we will now move to the second part of this session, in which our guests will present policy experiences implemented by 4 industrializing countries as case studies. So it is my pleasure to present to you the speaker of this session, Mr. Lama Arabia, Head of Artificial Intelligence at the Ministry of Digital Economy and Entrepreneurship of Jordan, Mr. Luciano Coutinho, Chairman of the Council for Medium and Small Industrial Enterprises at the Federation of Industries of the State of Sao Paulo, and Professor at the State University of Campinas, Mr. Gaurav Daga, Associate Vice President of at Guidance Tamil Nadu, Department of Industries, Government of Tamil Nadu. And Ms. Sang Xiaoyang, who is Vice President of the China Center for Information Industry Development. So we will start listening to the first case with a pre-record video from Mr. Arabilla, who will be telling us about Jordan's Ministry of Digital Economy and Entrepreneurship journey and success in the field of digital transformation and artificial intelligence.
Distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, I'm honored to join you today and participate in this important conference where we have come together to discuss the latest developments in industrial policy regarding the digital transformation and exchange conductive insights. First, I would like to share with you the inspiring experience of Jordan in developing its national AI strategy that translates Jordan's vision in regards of artificial intelligence. The Jordanian AI strategy has been developed by the Ministry of Digital Economy and Entrepreneurship of Jordan in collaboration with the UNIDO, European Union, and UNESCO. And this strategy has been approved by the Cabinet of Ministers in October last year. The Jordanian AI strategy has an implementation roadmap for the coming 5 years, 2023 to 2027, which consists of 68 projects and initiatives that covers the priority sectors in Jordan from water, energy, health, education, agriculture, and other priority sectors. And this strategy focuses on 5 strategic pillars. These includes capacity building and developing national skills and expertise in AI, also encouraging scientific research and development related to AI, as well enhancing the investment and entrepreneurship environment, also supporting the legislative and regulatory environment for the safe adoption of AI technologies, and finally, to apply the AI tools in improving the efficiency of government services and the public sector. To start the implementation of the strategy and achieve our goals in the artificial intelligence field, as a first step, the Ministry of Digital Economy implemented last year a national project to measure the readiness of public sector institutions to adopt artificial intelligence that targeted 18 governmental institutions. Following to the readiness assessment project, Jordan has launched a technical cooperation project with the Japanese side through JICA, which is Japan International Cooperation Agency, to cooperate in building the AI ecosystem in Jordan and implement 4 POCs projects to develop AI solutions to solve national challenges in the economic sectors in Jordan. In addition to the development of the Jordanian AI strategy, the Ministry of Digital Economy and UNIDO are working on rolling out next phase of collaboration with UNIDO to focus on introducing digital infrastructure and AI technologies to accelerate economic development, attract investment, and create sustainable employment opportunities, innovation, and entrepreneurship. The rollout phase of this collaboration will focus on 2 main aspects. First, providing technical assistance to the implementation of some pilot projects and initiatives under the National AI Strategy and strengthening local capacities to absorb, develop, and operate AI technologies in target sectors in Jordan, such as education, industry, healthcare, agriculture, and transportation. Second, emphasize on developing local human capacities and preparing the workforce of the future who are well-versed in AI-powered digital transition. This will further reinforce efforts to build a robust AI ecosystem and facilitate collaboration between industry, academia, and government, enabling us to share knowledge, expertise, and resources. The efforts made by the Ministry of Digital Economy and Entrepreneurship of Jordan and their partners from the development partners contribute to raising Jordan's profile as an upper middle income country through its priority of AI-powered transition to accelerate economic development. As a result, Jordan is now set to become a leading country in the region in terms of AI readiness, paving the way for further innovation, investment, promotion, and sustainable growth. This will make Jordan a regional digitalization and AI hub. According to the recently published Government AI Readiness Index by Oxford Insights, Jordan's upward progress from 81 to 63 place in 2022, according to the recent publication of Jordanian AI Strategy and Implementation Roadmap for Jordan. In addition to the publication of the National AI Code of Ethics for Jordan that represent a set of basic principles, guidelines, and ethical rules that should be followed to control human behavior while building, developing, or using artificial intelligence techniques in accordance with legislation and regulatory laws. In conclusion, we highlight the importance of the effective collaboration and partnership to promote sustainable development and economic growth, in addition to create conducive environment for investment and entrepreneurship that facilitate the development and adoption of AI technologies by SMEs in various sectors. Thank you for your attention.
Many thanks, Ms. Lama Aravilla, for this very interesting perspective on Jordan's artificial intelligence strategy to support digital transformation of firms. This is also a good case study in one of our major projects in supporting these new policies in this area that is very challenging and is advancing so fast. So now let us now move to the second presentation by Professor Coutinho, who is part of the Brazilian Digital Transformation Journey program led by Sao Paulo Industry Association to foster the digitalization of industrial SMEs in that region of Brazil. So, Professor Coutinho, so the screen is yours.
Thank you very much. Please move to first slide. So I'll start showing this program is ongoing program of assisted digitalization for industrial SMEs. And here is the distribution in the state of São Paulo of SMEs and industrial activity. And we see a concentration in São Paulo metropolitan area and its surroundings, particularly some logistics axes, highways in which industry is concentrated right now. São Paulo has 53,000 active industrial plants or industrial companies, of which 92%, 48.8, are SMEs. Within the SMEs, there is a important strata of mid-size industrial companies of around 4,000 and a large presence of really small companies. So the program is aimed at medium and small companies in the state of São Paulo. Please move to the next. And it is a quite ambitious program. I will show that in a moment. Here is a picture of the state of digital maturity in Brazil, which is heavily influenced by São Paulo. We can see here that the southeast region of Brazil, which encompasses São Paulo, Minas Gerais, and Rio de Janeiro, represent 36% of this sample made by the Brazilian Industrial Development Agency. Is a recent survey of 2021. This survey sample had 2.5, 2.6 thousand firms, and it showed that the digital stage of Brazilian overall industry, the maturity of digital development is yet very limited. So we have 2/3 of our industrial sector either in a very backward analogic with the absence of application of digital equipment, 48%, so about is emerging, is just initiating. There is a 30% in an intermediate stage and only 3% already reaching a digital stage of maturity. So this is just to show how challenging it is to accelerate the digitalization of the industry because most of the industry is still way back. So move to the next slide, please. So we have, therefore, 4 big challenges for this. One is to let and provide to small firms the basic capabilities to understand and engage in the digital transformation process. And on the other hand, those small companies, as they have a low maturity in digital and the knowledge is superficial, we need to assist both workers and entrepreneurs and CEOs about the possibilities, about the capabilities that they could acquire with a digital journey. So there is a process, we need a process of mobilization and education of business and workers. Another problem is the lack of qualified engineers and labor. And the other problem, big problem in Brazil, because very high interest rates, is inadequate and scarce finance for the projects. So in conceiving this program, we had to address those 4 challenges. Move, please. Move. So we had to address. So the program is rather ambitious, as I said, and of the, let's say, 48,000 SMEs in São Paulo, we are targeting to reach 40,000 firms in coming 4 years. We started the program in May 2022, and we have now, in March, we reached 9,600 SMEs. So it is, and we hope in May in 1 year from the launching of the program to have reached 10,000 or more. So we are being capable of scaling up the program. I wish to remind that all the programs that have been implemented in Brazil, which were program concentrated in lean manufacturing for whole Brazil, so far in this last 6 years, those programs were capable of servicing no more than 4,000 companies. So we have already, in less than 1 year, we are reaching 9.6 thousand SMEs. So it is a ambitious program, and we have a system of online management, and we have a rather complex structure for managing this program. Let's move to the next, please. This is just the official logo of the program. Move, please. And here is a very important chart that describes how the program and why the program is not just a once and for all intervention, but rather the concept is this program is like a journey that should take 2, 3, 4 years, because it's not adequate to try to digitalize SMEs that have a very backward and inefficient production or business model. So the whole program, which is in the ground floor, stages 1 and 2, starts with a diagnostic and a planning, like say a strategy to revise and discuss with the owners and CEOs of those small companies a new strategy to move first to rationalize and optimize production processes by introducing lean manufacturing and energy efficiency technologies and innovations. So the Federation of Industries has a quite competent service for industrial capacity formation of workers, SENAI, SENAI. This institution is a very capable institution, and it has inspired its action in the German 4.0 methodology. But it does start with this effort to improve the state of the companies through the implementation of lean manufacturing. So we have now, let's say, around 30% of the 9,000 in stages 1 and 2, around 40-45% in stage 3, and around others in 10-15% in stages 4 and 5, and only um, as I'm recalling by memory, only 300 to 500 companies starting in stages 6 to 7 and 8. Now, when the company finishes the process of lean manufacturing, it's invited to move to a mapping of its competence to engage in digitalization. And the first uh, diagnostic and mapping is about its stage of automation. How advanced the automation, because we have, as a characteristic of developing economies, uh, a automation of different ages. We have automation of the 80s, 90s, with simple controls, and then, or simple uh, computerized equipment, to advanced, very advanced equipment. So the heterogeneity of the equipment is usually high. So you need a diagnostic to streamline and to uh, do the either retrofitting of equipment to improve equipment capabilities to communicate through a online either a powerful Wi-Fi system with 5G, or communicate and integrate through other Bluetooth systems. But we need first to be sure that the equipment are capable of interacting. And then in stage 6, you initiate the deployment of 4.0 and enabling technologies like machine learning in order to move forward. So stages 5 and 6 do require heavier expenditures, different from stage 3, in which capital expenditures are almost are not needed, or almost zero. In stages 5 and 6, you need more fixed investment. This fixed investment can be more gradualistic through retrofitting, or depending on the company, it may go direct to latest generation equipment if the company has the financial resources and to do so, and has expanding demand that makes these investments profitable. And then there comes stages 7 and 8, in which you integrate the company with the whole value chain, from the supply chain to the distribution and commercialization. So this is the real 4.0 integration, which usually encompasses further applications of artificial intelligence, big data, and advanced capabilities that make manufacturing real smart. So that's the concept of the program, because the program is a journey that starts with very simple lean manufacturing and moves stage by stage to the more advanced 4.0 technologies. So it is a learning process. It is a a process that's builds up in stage by stage. Now, this process is a process which is assisted by consultants. So far, we have around 1,900 engineers engaged in offering consulting services to this program. Therefore, it is a expensive program to some extent, but as we will see, the productivity gains are extremely expressive, very important gains. So, can we move forward, please? Sources of finance. We have been able to raise support from the Brazilian financing agency for technology and innovation. We have also the support of São Paulo Research Foundation, and we also engaged the BNDES and the São Paulo Development Agency. So the combination of these is, on one side, to support the program with non-reimbursable funds, and on the other hand, offer low interest rate finance for CapEx expenditures, capital expenditures by SMEs. So the initial consulting, diagnostic, and strategy is highly subsidized for companies that have revenues of up to $1.5 million per year, don't have to pay anything. For companies that have higher revenues, they start to pay a slight proportion of the consulting. So we made it particularly for the smallest SMEs, a mobilization through various means. We have kind of a road show in the cities and in areas of concentration through the centers, industrial centers of the Federation, to mobilize the SMEs. And we have moving labs in big trucks that can move around the state to help, let's say, demonstration test beds that move to facilitate in the journey, to show in each region how the process could be effective for the companies. So let's move again, please. So the program, therefore, encompasses an effort of training labor and educating engineers of the companies by SENAI. SENAI is a powerful institution. It has a network of labs in the state of São Paulo. And so it is and we also have a engagement of universities and also the engagement of other technology support institutions like Foundation Paula Souza, which is a very capable foundation that has even more presence in many of the smallest municipalities. So we created a whole network to help service and assist the program. In another level, we are worried that entrepreneurs have the chance to educate themselves. And also their CEOs. So we created a kind of mobilization of engineering schools in the state of Sao Paulo and also business schools and some other technical institutions to offer short-term training programs to the owners and executives, particularly the CEOs and engineers of the companies. And with the hope, because if there is a cultural limitation in many of these CEOs, that they are either afraid or they think the process of digitalization is not really accessible to small companies, so it is difficult for them to engage. So this is very important to convince them, to inform, to show that this is a process that they can achieve. In a third initiative, we are trying to engage large leading companies. We have been successful in a few areas, particularly in the automotive sector, in capital goods producers, to engage large companies to help its own supply chains. For instance, the auto parts sector is moving towards digitalization because the large transnational companies, they need to be digital. And if its supply chain is not digital, they has no chance to export, to engage in incoming requirements for compliance with sustainability, energy efficiency, etc. So we think leading companies, large companies, can help if it could collaborate with the supply chain to induce the process. In addition to this, we also are carrying that small engineering companies. We are trying to support small engineering companies with the support of the large providers of automation and digitalization, like Siemens, like KUKA Roboting, like Schneider, other suppliers of technology, to train and prepare small engineering companies specialized in 4.0 service to help the process of digitalization. So in fact, we had to create an ecosystem of support to move the program forward. So it's a rather complex program, requires a lot of coordination, and it's been possible because of the leadership of the Federation of Industries in collaboration with the state of São Paulo and in collaboration with leadership of large companies. So
Luciano,
this is, I think I've already spoke too much, and I'm sorry if I use too much time, but it's difficult to describe such a program without going into such details. Thanks very much for the attention.
Thank you, Luciano. So I'm not interrupting you. Of course, there are a lot of questions, I'm sure. This is a program, this is really an example of a program that is taken to scale, 40,000 firms, 1,900 consultants, so we all want to know more about this. I just want to mention that with SEBRAE and with the member state of Brazil, so we have very active portfolio. We are starting a study with SEBRAE, that is the Brazilian think tank that supports SMEs, and we will all be in touch for this study. We will now listen to the next speaker, Mr. Gaurav Daga, who led the initiative, A Digital Transformation Through Public-Private Partnership in Tamil Nadu, India. So the main purpose of this program is to learn about the process of arriving at the digitalization strategy, the key feature of this, and facilitating the adoption of digitalization technology by SMEs. So Mr. Draga, please tell us more about the case.
Thank you so much, Marco and colleagues at UNIDO and colleagues from other parts of the country. I hope you're able to see my slides. Okay. So let me give some context before I talk about the question in hand. Tamil Nadu is the second largest economy in India. We are located in the tip of the country, and our economy GDP is roughly about 300 billion. If we were to be considered as a country, we would be around, in the top 50 countries in the world. And like the state of Sao Paulo in Brazil, we also have a lot of SMEs. In India, we have the highest number of SME concentration, not 60 or 50,000 like Sao Paulo, but close to it, about 40,000 SMEs. And our challenge is also pretty similar. Number one, to help our industries transition to high value chain of manufacturing. By that, what I mean is Tamil Nadu, the region already is good in electronics, automobile, manufacturing, general manufacturing, textiles and leather. But we want as a state, as a region, to help our SMEs to move to the advanced manufacturing capabilities and technologies like semiconductor components, green hydrogen components manufacturing, electric vehicles, specialty chemicals, and so on. Number two, we have realized from the geo-economic and geopolitical disruptions that a region itself needs to have capabilities within its geography, so that when you see disruptions like the Ukraine conflict or the unprecedented COVID challenge, you already have existing capabilities in the region which could help your SMEs, your large industries to kind of use such technologies to produce critical components which could come handy for their manufacturing supply chain. Number three is to not to lose the bus of integrating our region into the global value chain. As I said, we have about 40,000 factories, the largest concentration of SMEs, and we want to retain that position, pole position within the country and ensure that there are enough resilience created in the economy and these SMEs integrate into the global value chain of advanced manufacturing. Having these three objectives in our mind and the things that we have seen last 2-3 years, what we understood was advanced manufacturing is one of the tools that the government could use to propagate and help our SMEs in their journey. And what we have understood is advanced manufacturing is a journey. I think our colleagues from other countries will also agree it's not a destination itself. Companies in their process learn, rethink, adapt, and we in that process guide them in that journey. And we have also understood in few last 1 or 2 years that when we use such technologies, it helps our manufacturers, our companies create customized technologies, and that which is not kind of easily produced with conventional processes, and creates resiliences within the location that we are. But the critical part that we have also learned is it's not just adoption of technologies. It is also creating organizational cultures. It is also about creating the requisite skilled workforce. It is also about, ensuring the adequate processes and timelines and the structures are followed within the industry and so on. And some of the examples of such technologies, I think Mr. Alejandro already highlighted it, where additive manufacturing, automation, digital manufacturing, and so on. And what we have done is, aptly titled to my case study, is a public-private partnership model. Within the state, I represent the guidance industries department, and there are other sister concern agencies within our department. And not only us, but other departments within the government, like the labor department and the IT department, have taken some steps in this direction. Now, what we have done is we have created centers of excellence in partnership with 3 companies. These are Siemens, GE, and Dassault. These 3 companies are one of the leaders in technology providers for 4.0. And the idea there being was, government needs to help, bridge the viability gap, which may not be, a case for these 3 companies, and ensure that with the support from government, a one-time grant is given to these 3 companies to set up these centers of excellence. And the objective of the center of excellence would be threefold. A, to create adequate future-ready skill force within the state, who are industry ready, who knows to use such technologies and can very well be absorbed by industries. Number 2 was to ensure these COEs have capabilities, niche capabilities such as additive manufacturing or IIoT, or helping sectors like defense and aerospace, which could help our industries develop, re-engineer their products by visiting these COEs. And finally, use these COEs to reskill, upskill their existing employees. So having these 3 objectives in mind, we collaborated with these, at the moment, 3 centers of excellence with these 3 companies. And, we want to kind of get it scattered around in multiple geographies, so that, especially in industrial geography, so that companies in that region can use such technologies. So that's one initiative. The other initiative that we have done is within the industrial clusters where many of the large and small industries are located. We have set up 2 innovation centers, and these 2 innovation centers will get problem statements from these companies, and these 2 centers will get startups to be housed in those centers, and then startup will work on using the capabilities in this innovation center on the problem statements provided by companies. So this ensures regional innovation capability development, ensures use of such technologies for the benefit of SMEs, and also the growth of startups within our region. So that's on the industrial parks, industrial clusters that we have taken. And finally, which is my agency, what we have done is, at the moment, we are trying to understand the nature of Industry 4.0 maturity in our country. And we are trying to assess, as Sao Paulo has already done, which stage are they in? Are they more in analog? Are they in advanced technologies? So that we could understand and use our policies and interventions targetedly. And we have also become members of the World Economic Forum to use their expertise and networks to help our SMEs. So this is the initiative taken by our industries department. I will take 2 more minutes to explain what other departments have done. Often I talked about the availability and creation of skilled workforce, and often we have seen with manufacturing companies that student graduates with polytechnic courses or vocational courses are often more absorbed in the industry than students with engineering courses. And hence, what we have taken is that in collaboration with Tata Technologies, one of the companies from our country, we are upgrading all the industry training centers. There are about 40 plus training centers spread across the region, upgrading those training centers with 4.0 technologies so that the workforce that comes out of these training centers already know how to use these technologies and help companies reduce their cost of training. The other bit which the IT department has done is to create a matchmaking platform wherein stakeholders such as technology providers, SMEs, large industries, startup, universities, academia can all come in and offer their services so that each one could matchmake and help reduce information asymmetry and create more cross collaborations. What we are doing currently, if I want to summarize or if I want to categorize, are in three main bullet points. One is access to advanced manufacturing workforce, point number 3, which I talked about. Access to technology by creation of centers of excellence, innovation centers, and matchmaking platform, which I talked about earlier. Then access to information and network, which we are leveraging, one case being through the World Economic Forum platform. And what we are also doing is access to finance. In access to finance, the government is offering soft loans to SMEs who want to upgrade their existing industrial manufacturing units and onlay with digital technologies. We are also giving grants to startups, which helps them grow, accelerate in their product development. And we have also earmarked some funds through our R&D policy for industry adoption and 4.0 usage. So that's broadly been our approach. And in all of this, what you would see is an emphasis of learning from the industry, bridging the gap wherever necessary by government, and ensuring that the industries, the SMEs, climb the ladder of industrial revolution and 4.0, as it was rightly titled for this particular session. So thank you so much. I will stop here and looking forward to the questions subsequent to our presentation. Thank you.
Thank you, Gaurav, for very stimulating presentation and on such an important case study, which shows the importance of having a strong partnership between stakeholders. And I think the more important thing is that it is possible. So now let us move to the next presentation by Ms. Xiao Yang, who will tell us about a Chinese case of digitalization for productive transformation. Ms. Xiao Yang, so please, the floor is yours.
Thanks, Marco. Distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon. I'm very pleased to attend this learning session about digital transformation. As we are entering the digital economy era, digital transformation has become a world consensus for development, but the world still faces many challenges during this process, such as the widening of digital divide or the digital gap, as mentioned by Cecilia just now, and the rising uncertainty due to the geopolitical tensions or disruptions, as mentioned by Professor Sachs yesterday and the Indian colleagues just now. unilateralisms, and the possible recurrence of epidemics and other factors. The Chinese government has attached great importance to the development of digital economy. By the year 2021, the overall size of China's digital economy exceeded 4.5 trillion RMB yuan, accounting for around 40% of China's total GDP. I came from Beijing, and I work in CCID, China Center for Information Industry Development, which is one of the biggest think tank of MIIT, Ministry of Industry and Information Technology of China. MIIT is responsible for the development of manufacturing industry and ICT industries in China. So after 70 years of development, China's manufacturing industry has registered tremendous development. One of the major reasons, we think, is that we have seized the opportunity of digital transformation, established a relatively complete policy supporting system, and adhered to a new industrialization path characterized by the deep integration of informatization and industrialization. For example, from the industrial policy perspective, we work hard to create a sound policy environment to promote the digital transformation in manufacturing sector. MIIT has continuously introduced a range of strategies, plans, policies, and initiatives, such as the policy for integrated development of manufacturing and the internet, and the policy to develop industrial internet by deepening internet plus advanced manufacturing. We also strive to enhance the synergy between the central government and local governments, and successfully implemented programs of smart manufacturing, etc. Last year, we have released the 14th five-year plan of digital economy development and the plans for big data, software, etc. Secondly, we give importance to the creation of an ecosystem of the digital transformation. We support the establishment of application innovation centers, the industrial internet platforms, develop new technology testing centers, and new application training bases. We promote the matchmaking of supply and demand for digital solutions, facilitate personnel education and training, and strive to create a market environment featuring fair competition and orderly development. With those efforts, by the end of last month, over 240 influential industrial internet platforms have been built up, with over 80 million industrial equipment being connected on the platforms. As of September 2022, the production efficiency of 110 smart manufacturing demonstration factories have been increased by 32% on average, with the overall resource utilization rate increasing by around 22%, and an average of 19% of operation costs was reduced. Next, I'd like to talk something about the digital transformation practices of Chinese SMEs. SMEs are the most important force for driving economic growth and social development in China. By the end of last year, we have over 52 million SMEs, and SMEs represent more than 90% of all the enterprises in China. They also contributed to over 50% of our tax revenue, over 60% of China's GDP, over 70% of technological innovations, and over 80% of the job opportunities in China. SMEs are also the major players of China's digital economy development. MIIT regards the digital transformation of SMEs as the important way to promote industrial transformation and upgrading, as well as the improvement of industrial competitiveness. But at the same time, we also need to notice the challenges or the difficulties facing the SMEs in digital transformation, including the lack of capital or fund, relatively weak digitalized infrastructure, and a big shortage of professional talents or skilled workforce, just like the Sao Paulo colleagues mentioned. So due to those challenges, some SMEs are very reluctant to pursue the digital transformation. Some lack the encourage for transformation, and some lack knowledge or have no idea of how to transform. To help SMEs with digital transformation, many efforts have been made by MIIT, including providing policy support, given the guidance pathways, and providing public services. By policy support, for example, we have released the action plan for SME digital empowerment with 13 major tasks identified. We also work with the Ministry of Finance to use central government fund to conduct pilot programs. By now, over 2,000 demonstration projects has been set up. We keep enriching our toolkit by releasing the indicators of SME digital transformation level assessment and guidelines. An index on digital transformation of China is being formulated now. By providing public service, MIIT mobilized over 6,000 digital service providers to provide service to over 600,000 SMEs by organizing an SME Service Month last year. We also held SME Digitalized Transformation Conference last year, which is the first meeting held by MIIT focusing on the digital transformation of SMEs. Meanwhile, I also agree with the Sao Paulo colleagues with the role of leading enterprises in the digital transformation of SMEs, as it helps to improve the overall level of digitalization of the supply chains. Take automotive industrial chain as an example. Based on the industrial internet of Haier Company. Haier Company is a famous electronic companies in China. They have an industrial platform called Cosmoplat. Haier Company use Cosmoplat to help the Chery Company, which is a Chinese local automotive makers, connect 375 auto parts and components suppliers in upstream and downstream of the industrial chains in just 3 months. So we can see kind of enabling ecosystems featuring big enterprises lead and SMEs share was created. So through the past 2 days participation, we think it's very timely and important to hold MIPF mechanism by UNIDO, which can play a very important role in strengthening industrial policy exchanges and promoting cooperation by promoting knowledge sharing and multilateral learning. CCID is willing to actively participate in the following related activities of UNIDO. Finally, before conclusion, I'd like to share an interesting program which is being done by CCID now, which is called the GDI Partner Network Program. GDI means a Global Development Initiative, which was proposed by President Xi Jinping at the 76th UN General Assembly in the year 2021, which is incorporated with the goal of UN SDGs and the 2030 Agenda, which is welcomed by UN Secretary General, and nearly 70 countries joined the group of friends of GDI. GDI identified 8 key areas for development, including the New Industrial Revolution Program and Digital Economy Cooperation. So MIIT will hold the GDI Partner Workshop in late April in China. And A luncheon ceremony of Partner Network will also be held then. The network is open to all countries who are interested in the new industrial revolution and with the participation of multiple stakeholders. Up till now, nearly 60 member countries have nearly 60 members have expressed its willingness to join the network, including the agencies, enterprises, think tanks from Africa, Asia, Europe, and Latin America. By that network, we can conduct the joint studies and industrial exchange and cooperations and provide some training programs, either online or offline. We have prepared some brochure about the GDI Partner Network, and also another event is called China ASEAN Forum on Emerging Industries. The two brochures are put at the table, on the table at the back. If you are interested in, please have a read of that brochures, and we would like to take this opportunity to invite UNIDO and its member countries to the network and help recommend the network members or partners. Thanks for your invitation.
Thank you very much, Ms. Xiaoyang. Thank you very much. I just want to say that CCID is the internal main think tank of the Ministry of Industry in China that is our line ministry, and definitely we will see ways to cooperate and support this important initiative. Now, before the coffee break in 10 minutes, so we have two main discussants, top-notch, Ms. Annalisa Primi, head of the Division of Economic Transformation and Development at the Development Center of the OECD, and Mr. Axel Kapakl, Director of Economic and Social Development of Digitalization at the GIZ. So let me start the discussion by posing the first question to Annalisa. Annalisa, in your experience, what are the main bottlenecks that industrial firms in developing countries face when trying to climb up this technological ladder?
Hi, Marco. Thank you, and it's very nice to be with you today. So first, let me congratulate the UNIDO for this great forum. It's really a pleasure to see, even from online, so many friends: Cristiano, Cecilia, Anders, Marco, Alejandro, and I'm just mentioning the UNIDO ones, and I'm happy to meet new friends as well. You know, it's 10 years that we collaborate with UNIDO on maintaining spaces for policy dialogue on global value chain, production, transformation, and development. And since 2017, we are jointly advising governments on how to upgrade industrial policies through the production transformation policy reviews. And your question on which are the bottlenecks for firms to uptake and use digital technology is a very pertinent one, and one that we are really working actually together on it. We've been hearing a lot of very interesting presentation and concrete actions. I want to add to the discussion 3 words, and I'll try to elaborate a little bit on those: aspiration, investment, and readiness. I'm turning your challenges into what is needed to overcome the challenges. So in terms of aspiration, I think there is something very key, and it was clear from the interventions of the 4 different country experiences we've been listening, that developing countries need to be seen not only as markets for deploying and implementing digital solutions, they need to be seen and they need to position themselves as co-creators of solutions for the future. Like digital technologies, you all have shown us how transformative they are on business. And I think, you know, it's very important that we don't look at this through the traditional technology transfer or adaptations of solution to local context, but really to look at firms in developing countries as shapers of the new industrial systems of tomorrow. And what does this mean? This means investing. I like Luciano's point on the System S of Brazil, and a big fan of it. It's you need public investment, you need the private sector, and you need the whole system to shape this. We're really not yet there. We've been talking about frontier technology, but when we look at R&D globally, still to what it's spent in the world. 1% is in Africa, 3% in Latin America. So aspiration and ambitions, they're important, but they need to be matched with resources to allow firms from developing countries to take central stage in global innovation through digitalization. Now, how to make this happening? To me, it's extremely important that we need to endow governments and businesses with a very deep understanding of how these technologies are reshaping industrial organization. And this is well beyond the discussed digital trade and e-commerce. And I think the presentation of Gaurav and Luciano were really much focusing into that. You know, we have a nice paper we did with Manuel Toselli on digital technologies and leapfrogging or not. And there we look at how digital technology changed production processes in inputs, output, production, market structure and competition, value capture and generation. It's very important that we are away from the business side and from the governance side of how technology and digitalization are reshaping this to ensure that we allow developing countries firm not to be simply adopters, but shapers of also the new paradigms and the new regulations that are out there. We're working on food tech, you know, this is the competencies that are needed to compete in the global food systems of tomorrow are totally different from the one that we used to have in the past. You need data scientists, you do need precision agriculture, but there is also need to develop this technology and not only to deploy them. So for me, aspiration and allowing governments and businesses to be aware of this complexity is extremely important. The other issue is investment. Now, we do need updated industrial policies as solutions beyond the traditional industrial policy toolbox. And when we look at digitalization, this is really clear. Education, trade, competition policy, infrastructure, they do play a great deal in this case. And why I'm saying this? Because often industrial policies are underfunded, and if the outcomes that we want to achieve through them also depends on complementary policies that are around them, but that are not designed taking into account local industrial competitiveness, then we do have a problem. And I think for digitalization, this is an issue that I want to bring on the table. You know, average internet speed in Africa is 6 times lower than the OECD average. Latin America, it's half of the OECD average. Take one firm in Singapore, it takes it 28 seconds to download 1 gigabyte file. A firm in South Africa would take 2 minutes and 6 seconds to download the same file. And if we go to Sudan, the same firm would have 40 minutes to do it. This is a major toll on productivity. We cannot afford to have non-frontier infrastructure technology. And digitalization and the competencies and infrastructure that are needed are a fast-moving frontier. We've been discussing about artificial intelligence, so supercomputers are crucial there. Now, out of the top 500 in the world, only 1 is in Africa, Morocco, 8 are in Latin America, they're all in Brazil, India hosts 3. And of course, most of them are in the US, with China catching up. And evidently, there is disparity among the quality and the capacities of this infrastructure. So top supercomputer is located in the US. It's 637 times faster than the one which is in the 500th position. Those differences are really taking a toll in terms of to what extent firms can really benefit and embed the digital technologies in their production processes. So no matter how well designed our industrial policies and business partnerships, which are essential, we do need the infrastructure agenda to advance. There is an open debate, is that a global public good or not? There are different standards. India is putting on the floor a model. China has a different approach. The Europe is a different one. The US have a different one. But that discourse needs to be linked to the one on industrial policy. My third point was about readiness. And I think I want to talk about readiness in the mindset and in the market. I want to include investors' readiness to make digital business a reality in developing countries. So using digital technology in businesses is not easy, and you're more familiar than me in going into firms, and you have said it in the presentation. This is much harder for SMEs than for all firms. While in the OECD, for example, 73% of large firms use cloud services, the ones that you have to pay for access to them. SMEs in the OECD, 39%. So of course, there is a need to active policy to make firms aware. And I think the presentation we're hearing from the countries are very much into this. But also we need local, regional, and global markets ready to see digital solutions coming from emerging and developing countries and be ready to pay the price. Because if a firm goes digital and it really increases its productivity, we can't afford the major price differential. These has to be top firms, and we need the trust in their way of operating so that they can be real players in the global landscape. Now, I think there is one area where mindset and market are even making it up for the shortages in infrastructure, and I'm glad the colleague from India mentioned that. It's the issue of startups. So these are innovative business that by nature develop a very innovative, digitally embedded model. They have the digital DNA in their way of being constructed, even if they operate on services or on manufacturing. And the startup scene has really changed. It has gone global in the last 10 years. We have startups emerging with a very different vibe beyond Silicon Valley. They are even beyond China. Of course, when you go look at global number, we're not there where we would like to be, but this scene is moving very fast. Latin America now accounts for 3% of global startups. It was 0 around a decade ago. Africa, it's 2%, again, up from almost all 0. So there is an impressive change. We are working on a production transformation policy review with Bangladesh together with UNIDO, Anders, and we thanked Richard and Paul. And there what we see, even Bangladesh among the top 10 startup in Asia. So there is something that is moving there and that we can take to inject some kind of fresh thinking also in the way in which governments look and support the use of digitalization. But why do the startups are advancing faster? But because they do need the digital solution, because these are companies that are starting to operate at the frontier. So to conclude, for me, digital technology, we really have to consider it a very fast moving frontier with an immense transformative potential. The world is in desperate need of redefining production, trade, consumption, and digitalization will be at the core of redefining the transformation of industrial systems. Developing countries, they need to play a very active role in this. When I go back to my words, I think they do have aspiration, they do have mindset and market readiness. Market can be supported a little bit more through very active policies, but they do need more investment and they do need committed entrepreneurs, governments, and international partners to make this happening and to make this happening fast and in a way that ensures that we leave no one behind, because the risk of divergences is huge across countries and within countries, and we cannot afford that because we need to transition to a totally different model. You had 2 previous sessions on energy and efficiency and green hydrogen. We need a deep transformative change, and this is why we need to use digital. I don't see digital as a neutral, like short-term competitiveness solver. I think we have to look at it with the major transformative potential of bringing us to a totally different world in which production, trade, and consumption happens in a very different way and in a way that is much more inclusive and much more sustainable. Thank you.
Thank you, Annalisa, for very interesting insights. So now that connects us with the last question to Mr. Axel Kaplake. Axel, the question is, the new technologies of the 4th Industrial Revolution, such as artificial intelligence, open new opportunities, but at the same time, new challenges. So how can developing countries advance on digitalization? And if you can describe some success stories to share on this matter.
Yeah, thank you so much. And I would also want to congratulate all of you to really, this is a wonderful discussion. And I think it's very rich and very comprehensive. I really liked all the examples you have introduced. I think from our point of view as GIZ, as we are supporting the German government in supporting, in implementing international collaboration projects, maybe I can just simply, as time I think is now a bit limited, just summarize a very few insights and main points of where we are. I think first, I really liked Annalisa's comment on the infrastructure side. I think we still have a very mixed picture where the countries are and how the conditions would look like. And I think we still have so many countries where the basic infrastructure is not yet in place. And I think this is something really to work on, and it's worth emphasizing again that this also needs an own agenda, tools, partnerships, promoting investments. It has been mentioned already, but I think this is really a pivotal thing if we really want to mobilize the potentials, in particular on the African continent, but maybe the statement is also true, or it is certainly true also for locations outside of Africa. But as we are mainly operating on AI development in Africa, I think this is still very much the situation. I think secondly, and not surprisingly, some of the other speakers have mentioned it as well, we do believe that really we need a broader initiative and more investment in educating and skilling workforce, people. And I mean this really in a broader sense. We really see that capacity building is needed on an individual level. We, for example, have started running scholarship and fellowship programs on AI with different companies, international foundations and partners in Africa. I think that looks very promising, but we have also capacity building on an organizational level, different programs on how to boost really digitalization in the individual companies. And I think referring to Luciano's intervention, I think we have made similar experience in implementing SME digitalization programs, and for sure would also agree that as a basic start, I think we really need to work with companies on their strategies and to do a proper stock taking to really move this agenda. Thirdly, I want to emphasize, I think there is still a need in many countries to work on the regulatory framework. That has not been mentioned so prominently in the discussion today. But I think when I look at our work and where we really see where we can make a difference, this is still very important. So that we work with countries on their strategies, national strategies. We have got for Africa a good partnership with Smart Africa, this high-level initiative of the African Union. And where we see really that some countries now have picked interest in moving and developing national strategies in order to create an enabling environment for artificial intelligence and how to apply artificial intelligence inter alia also in their industry. My last point already is on international collaboration. I think what we also see, we do promote digital dialogues, as Gia said, also on behalf of our German government with different countries that have been that are present here in our discussion today, like Brazil. I think we have seen from those digital dialogues also the importance of really creating an environment where countries can have a good discussion on how they want to collaborate on artificial intelligence. I think this is really key. I think global companies like Siemens has been mentioned, but we could also refer to many others. They need a proper framework for their activities, as harmonization of standards to a certain extent. They need countries really to engage in dialogues on how to create a joint environment for international activities of the industries. I just wanted to add that point because I think if we look in the future, even for developing countries, it will be very important to connect also in terms of the regulatory frameworks and in terms of international norms and standards. So that's it from my side. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Axel. I think we have so great panelists and discussants that I want to ask the organizer if we have another 2 hours to discuss. Yeah. But now we have to go to a coffee break. So this was a great session, great learnings, and ensure that this discussion has to continue. And that's very interesting and very timely. So the coffee break will be in the 4th floor, same place as yesterday. We are going to start the next session at 4:15, 4:15, 4:15. So everybody invited to the coffee break. Thank you very much. Thank you very much to the panelists and to discussants.